The mysteries of the Egyptian pyramids have for a century already excited the minds of researchers and all who are interested in ancient Egypt. Especially many mysteries are hidden 3 pyramids, which are located in Giza near the current Cairo. And so sit back comfortably, plunge into the secrets of ancient Egypt. More recently, scientists have discovered that in the Pyramid of Cheops there are not only ventilation shafts, but also secret rooms that people can't not get to. And now more. Firstly, the whole Pyramid of Cheops, whose height is 138 meters, is permeated with 4 narrow inclined passages of 20 centimeters cross-section, which are generally considered for ventilation. Secondly, it is proved that 2 mines from the tomb of the pharaoh go outside. Why seal the tomb ventilation? Not to mention the fact that the sloping mines significantly complicated the construction of such a large-scale structure. Thirdly, 2 mines in which it would seem that there should be ventilation for the tomb of the pharaoh's wife. Besides not coming to the surface, she did not even reach the tomb itself, that is, they were sealed passages. Since the mines are quite narrow and stretch far enough, then to answer the question that it was possible only in 1990. Specially built for this task, the robot managed to creep through the mine as much as 63 meters and found an obstacle in front of him, the stone door with 2 metal hairpin handles, which you guessed, the robot could not open. In 2002, another robot reached the door, drilled a hole in it, stuck a camera into it, and saw that behind the door at a distance of 20 centimeters, another one door is exactly the same. Before it no more drills. After another 9 years, finally built a robot called the Jedi, who had more confident preparation for this type of research. The Jedi's rebellion came to the same place as the predecessor and just more accurately examined a small room between the 2 doors. On the floor is a kind of hieroglyphs, the meaning of which is not yet clear. Also, a special mobile camera on the robot unfolded and showed the door from the back. It is well polished, has decorative loops. In other words, this is not a stone that prevented the ingress of garbage into the mine. This door, which someone used, may have pulled it by the noose behind it, but in what way? But here is the strangest thing. For some reason images taken by the robot are not published all. For example, it is not known what was depicted on the ceiling, why the robot did not penetrate the 2 walls. Moreover, for some reason, the right wall of the secret room after 9 years received 2 longitudinal scratches, and the upper wall a deeper cut, as if it rested against it. In the camera itself, according to official data, not one of the robots penetrated. Is the study of the pyramid officially artificially frozen or silenced? Who knows? How old are the pyramids of Egypt? Science has not yet determined the exact date of their construction. Scientists in their definitions diverge even for centuries and millennia. The traditional version of the pyramid is already 4,500 years old. This age was shown by radiocarbon decay, but the fact is that radiocarbon analysis is able to determine the age only for organic substances, so the age of the pyramids was determined by the remains of wood left by the ancients. Scientists have found many oddities that leave the question of the age of the pyramids open. For example, the famous Sphinx, according to popular belief, was built during the time of Pharaoh Cheops in the 25th century BC. However, 150 years ago in Giza found the so-called inventory stele, which said that Cheops only ordered the restoration of the Sphinx, and neither built him. Also in the 90s it was proved that the furrows on the body of the Sphinx are traces of rain erosion. However, the rains that could do this in Egypt were not at least 8,000 years old, but nevertheless the Sphinx is much later than the pyramid construction. The most interesting thing is that immediately after the publication of this fact, the Egyptian authorities organized an urgent restoration of the Sphinx. As a result, all traces of erosion were either hidden or destroyed. Simultaneously with the restoration of the National Museum removed and the inventory stele, but the scientists also found another method for determining the age of the pyramids. Astronomers claimed that the pyramid copies the location of stars in the constellation of Orion, which was observed 12.5 thousand years ago. The Great Pyramid of Khafra takes the place of the 2 brightest stars of the Orion belt, and the smaller Menkaure Pyramid is shifted from the axis of the 2 neighbors, just like the 3rd and the smallest belt star. It turns out that the pyramids can be one of the evidences of some developed civilization, which we know nothing about. Yet this era fits into the time frame of the legendary Atlantis, although no one claims to have built the pyramids of civilization really was the Atlantean civilization. Tutankhamun's tomb kept its secrets for more than 3,000 years in the Egyptian Valley of the Kings. Hardly in the history of archaeology there is an event in its significance comparable to the discovery of this tomb, made in 1922 by Howard Carter. Interestingly, even in ancient times, unknown people entered the burial chamber at least twice, but the tomb was not plundered. It is difficult to overestimate the significance of this discovery for world history, but the dark side was also open. Already at the first stage of the research, the legend about the curse of the pharaoh appeared. After some time after the discovery, Howard Carter found a clay tablet in the tomb, which said that over everyone who dared to disturb the peace of the pharaoh, death would spread its wings. Conversations about this curse emerged after the April 5, 1923 death of the expedition leader Lord Carnarvon from the fatal mosquito bite, then followed by other deaths no less mysterious. By 1930, only 7 years after the discovery, only Howard Carter remained alive from all the witnesses. There are still disputes about whether this is a chain of deaths, whether there is a connection between them. Howard Carter himself believed that modern people can't not believe in such mystical nonsense as the curse of the pharaoh. The chain of deaths, in his opinion, is just an accident. In the scientific community, in contrast to the logical explanation, the curses attempted to substantiate logically the reasons for such a mass death of people who had been in the tomb or who had come into contact with mummies. The main version says that the ancient Egyptian priests could inflict toxic substances on walls or a sarcophagus, and the chain of mysterious deaths can be explained by the action of unknown poisons, which scientists involuntarily came into contact with, but this version has not yet been confirmed. As early as the 19th century, the idea of the uniqueness of the Cheops pyramid, also called the Great Pyramid, arose. His supporters claimed that it was built by the will of the higher mind by newcomers from the worlds with a civilization more perfect than on Earth. Judge for yourself. When measuring the Cheops pyramid itself, it turned out that the perimeter of the pyramid divided into a double height gives an exact number of pi to within 0.00001. It is interesting that the sacred measure of the length of Egypt, that is, the pyramidal inch, is 1/1 billion part of the Earth's orbit covered by it in 24 hours. By a strange coincidence, the pyramidal inch is equal to the English inch. The mystery of origin, which is also not yet disclosed. The diagonal of the pyramid gives its exact direction along the meridian. Moreover, great accuracy was achieved in this direction towards the North Pole, rather than the one achieved in the construction of the Paris Observatory, and there are still many other similarities. All these coincidences are repeated too often to explain them by accident. On the other hand, how can one explain the fullness of the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians and the accuracy of measurements taking into account the discovery of recent times? The riddle that is unlikely to ever be solved. Scientists suggest that the Egyptian pyramids were composed of monolithic stone blocks, suggesting that 1,000 slaves worked in the quarries, cutting down monoliths weighing 2.5 to 15 tons, and then on a sleigh pulled them to the site of construction, and in the end, with the help of ingenious lifting machines for some giant incline mounts, 15-ton blocks were dragged to a height of many tens of meters. Outstanding Egyptologists believe that the ancient Egyptians successfully moved monolithic blocks of increasing weight, some of which reached 70 tons. Scientists have not yet been able to give an unambiguous answer to how the Egyptians dragged such monsters to insane distances. In addition, it has long been noted that in the Pyramid of Cheops, in some of its places, the thickness of the seams, which at first glance appear to be simple scratches, is half a millimeter. Imagine how much effort was required for such a fitting of blocks, often weighing many tons. Egyptologists can't not give any clear explanations on this issue, but many years ago the professor at the University of Bern, Joseph Davidovich, put forward an interesting hypothesis that the pyramids are made of concrete. As proof he cited the results of his chemical experiments and visual studies of ancient artifacts. Pay attention to the stove. The surface of the block is covered with a fine mesh. According to Davidovich, this is the trace of the mat that was applied to the inner surface of the formwork box. The version with concrete would explain how the pyramid structures turned out to be blocks weighing 70 tons, and the absence of gaps between the blocks. If the upper block was made from concrete directly on the site, there would not be any crevices between it and the lower block, but this theory did not become widespread in the scientific environment, since geologists and paleontologists who studied the composition and structure of pyramid blocks repeatedly noted that the blocks represent treated clumps of natural sedimentary deposits, so that the secret technology of building pyramids has not yet been unraveled.